So in the last video, there was a brief mention of something that happened in Loudoun County. So I figured this week I'd bring up what that was exactly. Now, in NBC Washington, in December of 2022, family of Loudoun County student sexually assaulted. Ineptitude of all involved is staggering. The parents of a teenage girl who was the second known victim to be sexually assaulted by a Loudoun County high school student are speaking out for the first time and say the school officials ignored multiple red flags about her assailant. A student sexually assaulted a female student at Stonebridge High School in May 2021, but was allowed to transfer to Broad Run High School, where he abducted and sexually assaulted the second student in October of 2021. The teen was later convicted in juvenile court. A special grand jury found Loudoun County Public Schools administrators looked out for their own interests rather than the interests of the school district throughout their handling of the two sexual assaults, according to its report released on December 5th. Quote, with the release of the grand jury report, the public now knows what we have suspected since the start of this tragic event, that what happened to her on October 6, 2021 could have and should have been prevented, end quote. The family of the Broad Run High School victim said, in part, being the second assault. Quote, multiple red flags during the time period of May 12, 2021 to October 6, 2021 were raised and ignored, including the 12-page disciplinary report for the assailant that was also mentioned in the report, end quote. Quote, one thing we feel is important to note that over the last 14 months since our daughter was assaulted, not one member of the school board, LCPS administration, or even our local high school leadership has reached out to check on how she's doing, lend any type of support, or even apologize for what we are going through as a family. That alone speaks volumes to what we have endured throughout this ordeal, end quote, the victim's family's statement said, released by Patrick M. Reagan, their attorney. Clearly, some shit got fucked up. School board members voted to fire Ziegler, who was the president, I think, days after the grand jury's report. He was indicted with misdemeanor counts of false publication, prohibited conduct, and penalizing an employee for a court appearance, according to the Virginia Attorney General's office. The grand jury accused Ziegler of lying about the Broad Run High School assault at a school board meeting in June 2021 after the first assault occurred. Wait, was Broad Run the first one? Student assaulted a female in Stonebridge in May, and Broad Run in October. About lying about the Broad Run High School assault at a school board meeting in June 2021. After the first assault occurred. I feel like something is backwards here. Either that should say Stonebridge High School, or these should be reversed. Because then it transferred to Broad Run, where an incident occurred in October. But lying about an assault at a school board meeting in June 2021 after the first assault occurred. The school system placed Public Information Officer Wade Beard on leave. Beard was indicted on one felony count of perjury. The assaults have garnered significant public attention, in part because the student who was convicted in both attacks is a biological male who wore a skirt in one of the attacks, playing into a national debate over how schools should treat transgender students and whether they should be allowed to use restrooms different to their biological sex. As the school board debated policies governing transgender students and whether they can use the restroom of their preference, a school board member asked Ziegler if the schools had a problem with sexual assaults occurring in bathrooms. Ziegler responded that, quote, to my knowledge, we don't have any record of assaults in our restrooms. But emails show that Ziegler had been informed of the Stonebridge assault and in fact had sent an email to board members informing them of the incident. Teachers at both schools warned administrators of the students' disturbing conduct weeks before each assault occurred, according to the report. Even the student's grandmother spoke up and warned the student's probation officer, referring to her grandchild as a quote, sociopath, according to the report. 2 weeks before the first assault, a teaching assistant wrote an email to another teacher and administrator noting that the boy sat on girls' laps during study hall and seems to have a problem with listening and keeping his hands to himself. The grand jury said it believes the second sexual assault at Broad Run could have and should have been prevented. And I guess there was some theory that there was a cover-up or something. But according to NBC Washington, there was not, however, a coordinated cover-up among officials, and school board members were deliberately deprived of information regarding the incidents until after the October 6th sexual assault, the grand jury concluded. So there wasn't a cover-up among officials. However, also at that same time, school board members were deliberately deprived of information regarding the incidents. So it seems that what they're saying is there was the first incident, and then they didn't really tell the next school about it. And when the school board asked if there was any incidents of it, Ziegler said, "Nope, not to my knowledge," even though to his knowledge there was. And then they moved forward, I guess apparently passing policy that says, yeah, transgenders can use whatever bathroom they want to use. And then the second incident occurred, which was not in a bathroom. So I don't know if it went over this. But so the first incident was a girl was sexually assaulted by a male student wearing a skirt in the bathroom, in the girls' bathroom. She reported the incident, and an investigation was immediately underway. That student then was allowed to be transferred to a different school in the same county, and it seems from what I've read that the different school was not told anything about the first incident. Now, in between the two incidents, there was a school board meeting where I guess they were thinking about passing a policy of allowing transgender students to use bathrooms other than their biological sex. And when the president was asked, I think it was the president, let me get that right. School superintendent is what it was. So when the school superintendent was asked, hey, are there any issues with transgender students or of any students being assaulted in the bathrooms? And emails prove that he knew about the May sexual assault. And he said, to my knowledge, no, we're all good. And so then in August, they passed a policy to allow transgender students to use the bathroom of which they identify as, or at least that's what I've gathered from the reporting. And then in October of 2021, the second incident with that same student perpetrating another sexual assault, this one being they abducted a student, forced them into an empty classroom, and then committed sexual battery against them. And according to a Washington Post article in 2021, it was said that the teenager was charged with sexual battery and abduction of a fellow student in the second incident. Where did I see? But on July 8th, apparently, a male 14-year-old was arrested in a case and charged in juvenile court with 2 counts of forcible sodomy. And in a statement, the sheriff's office said it did not report the incident in a news release at the time because, quote, the suspect and victim were familiar with each other, the investigation was complex, and a public announcement had the potential to identify a juvenile victim. So presumably the male student was arrested and charged with 2 counts of forcible sodomy. So the timeline seems to be male student in a skirt sexually assaults and does an act where he gets charged in juvenile court with 2 counts of forcible sodomy. That gets reported. An investigation goes on. He's then arrested and charged. Oh, and apparently he was wearing a skirt while he was in the girls' bathroom doing that act. And then there's a school board meeting where the school's superintendent is asked if there are any incidents of students being assaulted in bathrooms. And now with receipts, we know he lied, saying, "To my knowledge, no, there is no such incident." And then in August, they pass a policy of allowing students to use bathrooms that do not match their biological sex. And then in October, after this male student has now been transferred to another school who hasn't been informed, it seems, of what happened in the previous one, and with tons of red flags being ignored around both incidents, that same male student abducts and commits sexual battery against another female victim of theirs. So that's what happened in Loudoun County, and what is sometimes brought up in a reason, as an example for a reason why people are against students being allowed to go into bathrooms of the opposite sex that they are biologically. So just kind of wanted to point that out. A male student went into the girls' bathroom wearing a skirt and committed sexual assault. And then that same student, because the school was very inept, apparently, that student gets transferred to a different school and then abducts and commits sexual battery to another female student. So there, the more you know. And well, you probably didn't enjoy this video, but if it was informative, please like the video, comment, subscribe, and peace.